Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Osworld. So if you can see from my jersey, representing Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers. So from the title, you can probably take a guess that this video is going to be dedicated to my favorite, not only football team, but my favorite sports team of all time is the Green Bay Packers. So you can kind of take a look up there, some Packer stuff. So I'm going to make this video. I'm sure that if you're a Packers fan, you'll like it. Even if you're an NFL fan, maybe you might enjoy it too. So I just like to make this video dedicated to like my team. I mentioned in an earlier previous video that I'm from Wisconsin, even though I grew up in Ohio for most of my life. So naturally, I'm a huge Green Bay Packers fan. And I don't want to talk about it, too much or go into too much detail, but just been following the team. I didn't really start following them until the 2000 season. I was year 2000, so I was 9. That was a year that, like, literally from then on, every week, every game I would follow them. So it's been close to 18 years now. So the topic of this video that I want to talk about is for Green Bay Packers. If you're a Packers fan or just in general, there's that famous debate, either Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers, like who's better, who would you rather have? So you guys think that me wearing a Brett Favre jersey, you think I'm going to choose Brett Favre, but I'll tell you later, and I don't really have an exact answer, and I'm sure that's not what you're looking for. But guys, I would first say that if you're an NFL fan, you know that the most important position is the quarterback. Literally, the quarterback can make or break a team. You have so many teams that are struggling for so many years because of that one position. They have everything else, but they don't have the quarterback, and this is very true. There is time to time you have like those teams that they may not have like the superstar quarterback, but they still won a Super Bowl. Some of the teams that come to mind are the 2000 Baltimore Ravens when they had probably one of the best or top defenses ever, but their quarterback was Trent Dilfer, who's, was decent, but he's not like the superstar Hall of Famer quarterback. So if you look at the last few years, obviously New England Patriots, Tom Brady, Packers when they won their Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers, the Saints with Drew Brees, Peyton Manning when he led when he was with the Colts, and then Denver, and then this past year Philadelphia won. But you just have to look at the trend, guys. So that's why when it comes to the Packers, I would say, even though I'm a Packers fan, I would say that we are a little bit spoiled, because for the last close to 30 years, while all these other teams, especially since I'm from Ohio, hear a lot about Cleveland, especially the Cleveland Browns. I've lost track how many starting quarterbacks since they drafted Tim Couch in 1999. It's been like 24, 25 different starters, literally like a new starter every year. But for us Packer fans, for the last 30 years, we've only had pretty much 2 starters, Brett Favre and then now Aaron Rodgers. You talk about, the only other comparison I could maybe make is for a team that's had that kind of stability is probably the Indianapolis Colts, when they had Peyton Manning, and then it got transitioned to Andrew Luck. But not even that, because first Luck has been injured. I think last year he was injured for most of the year. And obviously, too, I don't think he's as good as Aaron Rodgers. Wait to see. He's a little bit younger. But as far as that, there's no other team that's had that like luxury of having that consistent play at the most important position. But at the same time, though, I think we've underachieved, because with Brett Favre, we only won 1 Super Bowl. We went to 2, won 1, lost 1. And with Aaron Rodgers, we won 1, and that was it. We've gotten close, a few times, but we could never, ever since winning that last one in 2010, we haven't been able to go back. So I don't know if it's because of the play, the defense, or some of the management decisions. But me personally, when we've had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, who's considered maybe the greatest quarterback of all time, and I'm not just saying that I'm a Packers fan, I'm just saying that everyone will agree that Rodgers is a great talent, that we've underachieved. We've only have 2 Super Bowls. But anyways, going to the topic I want to discuss. So if you run into any Packers fan, this is always highly like a highly contested debate, is Favre versus Rodgers. Either one, like who would you rather have? Who do you think's better? Or if you had to win one game, who would you pick? So I'll break it down, my opinion. The first one, who do you think is better? So to answer that question, I think Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback than Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers, in terms of, he's not as strong, but as far as his decision making, because when you're a quarterback, decision making is such an important factor. He has the lowest touchdown to interception ratio. He just doesn't throw interceptions. He makes good decisions, and that's just as vital. If a play is breaking down, he's not going to force anything. He'll just throw it out of bounds, or if it's coming, he might take the sack. Anything that he'll do in order to not give up the football, give up the turnover. And I just think his passing is so accurate. Just his overall play, and I think Brett Favre was more of like and I'll get to this a little bit later, but Brett Favre was a lot more exciting to watch. But in terms of overall the fundamentals, the mechanics that you want in a quarterback, I think that it's hard to beat Aaron Rodgers. Just from the prototype, as built as far as reading, decision making, and of course his passing is fantastic. It's on the money for most of the time. So to answer this first question, who do I think is a better quarterback, Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? And I think personally it's Aaron Rodgers. And it's kind of hard to say because Brett Favre is my favorite football player of all time. Just because I think Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback, that doesn't mean that I like him better than Brett Favre. No, Brett Favre is my favorite quarterback because I grew up, the Packers were the first sports team that I followed passionately before I started following basketball team and the hockey team and baseball team. But for me, Brett Favre, since when I was following the Packers, he was their quarterback. He was one of the best. So he's always going to be my favorite football player of all time. But in terms of answering this first question, who's a better quarterback? I think it's not Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. So it leads me to the second part of this Favre versus Rodgers debate. Who's more exciting, or who would I pay money to watch? And for this, I don't want to say it's a long shot, but I would say that by a good distance, it's Brett Favre. So if you've never had a chance to see Brett Favre live, definitely on YouTube Brett Favre highlights, and he produced some of the most exciting plays that you could ever expect, not only from a football player, or not only from a quarterback, but from a football player just in general. And what made Brett Favre exciting was what also got him into trouble in terms of turnovers and interceptions, because he would just take so much gamble and risks and force the football in a lot of tight situations. So when it worked, it was amazing. It's fantastic to see it. But obviously when it didn't, it was horrible, because a lot of times it was either intercepted or not completed, or sometimes they lost the game. Packers, they lost, from what I can think of off the top of my mind, they lost quite a few playoff games because Brett Favre made a bad pass. I remember the one most vividly was it was his last year in Green Bay when they were in the NFC Championship game against the New York Giants in 2007 in overtime. And he just threw a bad pass that got intercepted. It was in their territory, so literally the Giants, they just scored a field goal and the game was done. And that year I thought the Packers were going to get back in the Super Bowl. They should have, but oh well. So that's the pros and cons of being a risk taker. So as far as I got to see Brett Favre live quite a few times in Green Bay, and then when he came, we went to some games in Detroit, came here in Cleveland, trying to think, Minnesota. We went to a game at the old Metrodome. So he was such an exciting quarterback. So again, YouTube, if you haven't seen any footage of Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers is very fun to watch too, but for comparing the two, Brett Favre was I can't think of anyone else in terms of, he was just, you never knew what to expect. It was so exciting. So for this topic, I would give the nod to Brett Favre. So which brings up to the last one in this Favre-Rodgers debate. If you had to put your money on one, either or to win you the game, who would it be? So if you had one game and you had to, place your money, who are you going to take, Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? And for this, I'm going to choose Aaron Rodgers. So we're 2 for 3 for Aaron Rodgers, even though Brett Favre is my favorite quarterback. But going back, guys, is in football, and of course in sports, but especially in football, this is my opinion, but if you protect the ball, then you have a good chance of winning the game. And going back to what we've already what I previously mentioned, is Brett Favre in a lot of crucial moments of the game, especially in a lot of the playoff games, he just made a bad pass or he forced it, and it was like one of those turnovers where you couldn't get it back, because if it was in overtime or late in the game, you're not going to have another chance, and you gave that other team basically the game. So Aaron Rodgers, from the playoff games that he's been in, I would say that I mentioned that since they won that Super Bowl, they haven't been able to get back there, and I think a big reason was because of the Packers' defense. It wasn't necessarily Aaron Rodgers throwing a late game interception or performing horribly. There's probably a few games he could have played better, but the last few years, I think what's held the Packers back from getting back to the Super Bowl is their defense. Their defense, in a lot of cases, were just absolutely horrible. And when your defense is absolutely horrible, you can't really do much on the offensive end. Basically, you're playing catch-up or keep up the whole game, and that's not like a very reasonable expectation. No, you need to have some sort of defense. So when it comes to the game on the line, let's just assume that the defense is the same on each team, that I'm going to probably place my money on Aaron Rodgers to lead the team to the victory. Again, though, Brett Favre had quite a few game-winning comebacks. He was very clutch in some games, but I just think that not turning the ball over or making the better decision, I have to give the nod to Aaron Rodgers. So, guys, that doesn't mean that I think, I like, as I mentioned, Brett Favre is still my favorite quarterback, but just me being a Packers fan, I mean, it's fun to debate this, but also it's like, why are we debating? Just gotta have to appreciate us, us Packer fans having 2 of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, literally for 30 years, and who knows how much longer Aaron Rodgers is going to continue to play, hopefully more. But literally, we had the privilege to watch great quality of play. I mean, it would have been better if we would have got a few more Super Bowls, but hey, sometimes you just have to appreciate what you have, and they did give us one each, and they gave us quite a bit of memories. So I'm going to end this video because I just wanted to make a video on my favorite team, the Green Bay Packers. And as another note, even if you're not a Packers fan, if you're a football fan, or even just a sports fan in general, make it on your bucket list to go to a game in Lambeau Field, because Lambeau, it's probably the mecca of football. And literally, it's such a small city, Green Bay, like, you're driving through, it's a super small city, and then all of a sudden you see this giant NFL stadium, and when it's game day, literally the city shuts down. I think the population of the city is, it's close to 100,000 people, and that stadium fits, I don't know, like 70, 75. So 3/4 of the city is at the football game. And then for those who are not at the football game, they're either watching it, in the restaurants or watching at their home. You'll see like no one driving on the street. Like the city shuts down basically when it comes to Packer football on game day Sundays, especially when it's a home game. So whether it's during the a nice weather or during the winter, just make it a bucket list. You won't regret it, because it's such a passionate fan base, and I think most NFL teams have a passionate fan base, but the Packers are a little bit different. It's just that typical small town that loves their football team. So if you know anything about football, what makes football great, at least in my opinion, if you look at high school, a lot of these high school small towns, they love their football team, especially down south, and you go to, some of the states like Texas, Alabama, Georgia, something that jumps off my mind is it's on Netflix, I believe, is a show Friday Night Lights. You know, that's what kind of that's a typical example of like small town. You know, maybe not that much going on, but when it comes to, at least for high school, when it comes to Friday night, the whole city focuses on their football team. So when it comes to the Packers, it's kind of like that. When it comes to Sunday, especially when it's a home game, the whole city shuts down and just, you know, puts all their focus and energy on, you know, Green Bay Packer football, and seeing it in person is amazing. So yeah, a little bit of an off topic there, but just make it a bucket list. You won't regret it. Try to go to one game, especially if Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback. It makes it a little bit better when the team is good. So guys, thanks for watching the video. Leave a comment below on maybe your opinion, or if you want I'll try to make a few more of these videos on sports topics that you know, that I'm passionate about, and like comparisons, who's better than who, or you know, kind of diving in between, let's say, like a potential rivalry. Try to make a few videos on that. So if you have any recommendations, leave a comment or shoot me an email and I'll get to it. So thanks for watching the video. Talk to you later. See you in the next one.